What's new? Everything. The new Motoramic Chevrolet is new from the ground up.
In the 1950s and 60s, it seemed like America couldn't build its cars big enough. They've been steadily growing longer, lower, and wider since the end of the 1940s, with engines that grew proportionately as well. This is the story on OPEC and the fuel-saving classics that kept us moving. In the 1950s, cars were huge and so were their engines. For example, in the 50s, Cadillac engines displaced 5.4 liters. By 1970, you could buy an Eldorado that was displaced at 500 cubic inches and drank an estimated 9.8 miles per gallon or 24 liters per 100 kilometers of fuel on a good day. By 1970, many drivers were getting tired of filling these enormous land yachts. The domestic manufacturers had produced some downsized models, but only a few. And Japanese automakers were just putting a foot in the door with their tiny cars. The world as we knew it forever changed on October 6th of 1973. The epicenter of this dynamic change occurred over 6,000 miles or 10,000 kilometers away from the U.S. In the re-established nation of Israel, citizens were celebrating the Yom Kippur holiday, and they were suddenly attacked by Egypt and Syria. This military conflict only lasted weeks, but its consequences are still with us today. While Israel won the conflict, the Arab and Persian world weren't too happy with the outcome. Frustrated with the loss of the war, these nations, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, decided to deploy a full-on oil embargo on Israel's closest allies. The main targets of the embargo included the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Japan, and the Netherlands. You know, the OPEC nations knew exactly what they were doing. To prevent middlemen from bypassing the embargo, the OPEC nations also reduced oil production. Regardless of a nation's stance on the Israel-Arab conflict, the entire world would feel the pain of OPEC's wrath.
America is 80 million gallons of oil a day short now that the Arabs have turned off the tap. There is no way that she can make up the loss.
Hey, we're about to talk about the fuel-saving classics that kept us moving back in the 70s during the oil embargo, but really quick, we just want to shout out to all of our subscribers who help the channel. If you're not a subscriber, please help us out. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for future notifications. Now, back to the video.
For 1973, we proudly offer Omega, traditional Oldsmobile value and quality with a compact car price tag.
In 1973, Oldsmobile jumped into the compact market with a version of the popular Chevy Nova, dubbed the Olds Omega. The only substantial visual changes were a neatly done waterfall grille and nicer interior trim. Omega offered the same three models as the Nova, a two-door sedan, two-door hatchback, and four-door sedan. But in the race to introduce Nova-based compacts, Pontiac led the way when it fielded the new Ventura in 1971. Ventura enjoyed decent sales and in 1977 was restyled to become the Pontiac Phoenix. Amazingly, that year, the 3,300-pound 111-inch wheelbase Phoenix even offered a four-cylinder option in place of its standard V6 engine. That's how nutty the market had become by then. Meanwhile, Pontiac ventured further into the small car market with its Vega clone, the Astra. The division followed that up with the Monza-based Pontiac Sunbird, introduced in 1976.
If you can identify the lowest list price car built in America, you will win our grand prize. Is it Pinto, Vega, or Gremlin? Gremlin! That's right! Gremlin has the lowest list price! You have won our grand prize! Dinner for one at Burger World!
I want the club.
Of course, Chevy, Ford, and AMC had gotten into the subcompact market long before the mid-70s. Chevy with its stylish Vega introduced in 1971. Ford with the 1971 Pinto, and AMC with the Gremlin, introduced on April Fool's Day of 1970 as the first U.S. subcompact. Despite its name, Gremlin was a solid, well-built little car. Poor engineering doomed the Vega, while Pinto, generally a decent car, would later be haunted by gas tanks that tended to explode. Just to make it clear, we think that Pintos were pretty decent cars, and whether they exploded or not and all that mess, we're not going to get into.
And now, into the select circle of the world's great performance cars comes Ford's Maverick.
Did you say Maverick?
You gotta be kidding.
Come on.
In addition to Pinto, Ford was well situated in the small car market with its Maverick, which added a 4-door sedan and sporty 2-door grabber model in 1971. But things got a little nutty when Mercury introduced its new Bobcat for 1975. Really nothing more than a Pinto with a pseudo-Mercedes grille, the Bobcat was an awkward-looking little car that seemed out of character in the classy Mercury line.
How does it feel like a Mustang do? How does it feel like a Mustang do?
Even Ford's performance line was affected by the fuel crisis. Mid-decade changes in the Mustang were profound. For 1974, Lee Iacocca, father of the pony car, decided it would become a smaller, more refined, sporty coupe along with the lines of the Toyota Celica.
When you buy a dependable Chevy Chevette, you'll find you can also afford some of the other good things in life. Like extra money for a growing family, or an honest-to-goodness vacation.
In 1976, Chevrolet replaced its troublesome Vega with the European-influenced Chevette. A conventional rear-drive hatchback, the Chevette wasn't very exciting, but it was economical. The company claimed ratings of up to 40 miles per gallon.
This May, 2 new 1987 small cars will come down the production line. The America Series, Omni America from Dodge, Horizon America from Plymouth.
Eventually, Chrysler did jump into the subcompacts, and here it was, a case of last out, best dress. The Dodge Omni and Plymouth Horizon were solid engineered small front-wheel drive hatchbacks very similar to the hot-selling VW Rabbit. The duo sold very well and proved to be among the best U.S. small cars ever made. Towards the end of the decade came a flood of diesel-powered cars. Oldsmobile shot itself in the foot by introducing diesel engines in its big and mid-size cars. Based on gasoline engine designs, the lightweight diesels delivered excellent fuel economy, but were extremely unreliable. It took Oldsmobile years to live that down. Hey, there you have it, the fuel-saving classics that kept us moving back in the 1970s with the OPEC oil embargo. If you have a memory, we want to know what it's all about. If you had a memory from the oil embargo, leave us your comments below. We want to know. And hey, thanks to all our subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell for future notifications. Help us out. Help the Boca Brothers out. This is Michael J. with the Boca Brothers YouTube channel. We will do it again next weekend.